Oh yeah, welcome to the show, everyone. My name is Mark. I am your host. And today on the show, I've got a good friend of mine in recovery, and her name's Grace. Grace, welcome.
Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome.
We started off laughing already.
Yeah, look, it happens. Here's the recovery band. Get it. That's the funk.
Awesome.
Oh, and there you go. Something for your ego.
I love that.
I know, right?
I wish I could have that every day. As soon as I wake up, round of applause.
My friend Steve, I was like, I need one of those for my bedroom.
For company or for himself?
I don't know. It's so Grace and I were talking before we fired this up, and so we were talking about like fentanyl and stuff, and like how it's in everything now. And I was
That's
out to
scary.
It is, right? And I was out to lunch with my friend Johnny Coins, and he was like, hey, my dealer used to want to see me, so he make sure my stuff was clean. It's like, that's not the case anymore.
Nope. It is. When I found out that they were even putting it in weed, everybody talks about how natural it's supposed to be and it's from the earth. Why?
Exactly.
Why?
I think the same thing. It's everything.
I don't get it, and that's the scary part.
Yeah. And you were talking about this last time that how long have you been doing recovery?
The first time I attempted sobriety and recovery was in 2017.
Was in 2017.
That was the first time I had ever gone to a detox. First time going to a meeting.
Really?
I knew nothing about meetings.
Okay.
Nothing. That was the first time I ever attempted recovery.
And was it all here in down here in South Florida?
South Florida. Yep. Yeah. Hollywood, Davie.
Yeah, the recovery here is fire.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah, it is.
There's a lot. I mean, if you put the effort in, you'll find your group of people.
Yeah. So what was life like before recovery for you? Like, do you remember like when you first started like drinking and using and...
I was a late bloomer.
Okay.
I think I smoked weed. I think it was 13. Mm-hmm. One time, didn't like it.
Yeah.
And then I had a child at 15.
Okay.
And from 15 until I think I started like going out with coworkers and going to the clubs, going to Fort Lauderdale, probably around 26, 27.
Okay.
And in that entire time, I had no interest in drinking, drugs, nothing.
So you didn't start really until you started going out to the clubs?
Yeah.
Was it a gradual thing?
Gradual.
Yeah.
We would go out maybe once a month. Me and my husband at the time, we'd go out once a month with friends and just drink and party just that one night.
Yeah.
And then the people that I was surrounding myself with, oh, try this. Oh, I kind of like it. But I thought I could still tame it.
Yeah. What was it, like blow or?
No, I started drinking and then smoking here and there. And then I was introduced to pills.
Oh.
So it started with ecstasy. That was real big at the time.
Yeah.
And I didn't really like it because I always got sick on it.
Really?
I threw up every time. And it was just like, what is the point?
Yeah.
And then from there, it went to cocaine. And then it's like, well, I can't sleep. Mm-hmm. And they throw a pill at me. Percocet, Vicodin, Tylenol 3, whatever. Here, take this. It'll help you sleep.
Yeah.
And then from there, it was just like, all right. I'm not doing it all the time. But then it was like once a month, every other weekend, then every weekend. And then I'm like, damn, now I'm noticing when I'm partying on the weekends, Monday comes, it's time to go to work, and I don't feel good.
Yeah.
But it never crossed my mind that it was a withdrawal that I was going through.
Okay.
I didn't understand that. I just thought, oh, okay, I partied a little bit too hard. My body's readjusting.
Yeah.
And then I would just keep going. And then at 30, I was going through a divorce. And that's when I really took off.
So that's when it kind of became your solution. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. What did that solution look like for you going through that divorce? And then
it was horrible because I couldn't figure out why I was broke all the time.
Okay.
Why I had to keep, the house that I was in with my kids was going into foreclosure. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I could come up with so much amount of money to move, but I'm still short.
Oh, yeah.
So at that point, it's like, now I'm starting to have to ask family for help financially. Mm-hmm. And after I moved out of that house after my divorce, I was able to be okay for a little bit. And it was just like that one time I got invited out and it started up all over again.
Yeah. What are those times now when it started up all over again? What do those times look like for you?
At that point, it was more drinking, cocaine, and pills.
Yeah.
The up and down.
Oh, yeah, that
The
roller
up and
coaster.
down.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I drank too much. Let me do a couple bumps. Let me level myself out.
Yeah,
let me figure out how to way to keep myself a little bit, not too messed up.
Yeah. It was always when it became the solution, and that was my thing was coke and alcohol, so I can identify on that level. But it was like my thing really wasn't pills, but at the end of the night to come down, well, maybe it was like Xanax to come down. And then, so I could pass out for a couple hours and try to function the next morning. But the problem was that I needed it the next day to get back up. I'm like, I don't want to call my dealer. Oh, crap. Now I need to wake up because these energy drinks aren't doing it.
Nothing would work.
Yeah.
Just more drugs.
Yeah, that's exactly.
More drugs.
Yeah, like the worst one was pounding NyQuil to pass out.
It was so
you ever done that?
Disgusting.
Yeah, did you ever do that?
Yes.
Yeah, it's like
literally chug it out of the bottle.
Yeah.
You're not measuring anything. You're just like, please just kick in fast so I can get some sleep.
Yeah.
Get some rest.
And what a dangerous cocktail. Like now that I'm thinking about it, now that the head's clear, it's like, holy crap, I could have died at any moment. Yeah.
How?
I
have no idea the amount of crap that I would put in my body at one time.
Yeah.
To this day, I cannot explain it. Excuse me. I've never had an OD.
What?
Never.
Wow.
Never. Yet.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yet.
Throw that behind anything.
Yet.
What were the struggles like after you got divorced and you said you were coming up short all the time? Like what did active addiction look like for you after? It
got to a point where there was a couple of times my mom had to pay my rent for me. Because I remember sitting in that apartment and she would take the kids for the weekend and I'm sitting in this apartment. Lights got cut off. Rent wasn't paid. And I would just sit there in the dark. And when you become close with certain people, it's like, oh, maybe they really are my friend. Oh, I'm going to drop something off for you so you don't feel so bad. Oh, they're really looking out for me.
I know that feeling. Wow.
You know what I mean? And I'm like, they really care. No, they're trying to keep me hooked so that when I'm okay again financially, who am I going to call first?
Well, we don't see it then.
Nope.
Like when I think about that, it's just like, oh yeah, here, let me give you something to get you through. Mm-hmm. Here, take the edge off, take the pain away.
Yep. And I always thought, oh, that's a good friend. No, it's not. The amount of times that I was in withdrawal and I would mentally prepare myself. I'm not going to call anybody. I'm just going to try and go through it. Mm. And I would get that text or that phone call. Hey, I left you a little something. Damn it.
Well, that's powerless. Like we're looking at, somebody finally explained powerless in recovery to me. And it was like doing something I swore I'd never do again or don't want to do, and do it anyway.
And do it anyway, over and over.
Yeah. That was that feeling for you now? Like I had this feeling like I don't want to do it and I would get so upset. and I knew that I didn't want to, but yet it would just happen.
It's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Because not only am I thinking about the people that I'm letting down, my kids, my family,
Yeah.
but myself.
Yeah.
You know, every time I would get through a withdrawal and I'm like, I never want to feel that again. I don't want to be running to the bathroom every 5 minutes, wrapping myself in a blanket because I'm cold, but I'm sweating. Then I wrap myself in a blanket and then it's like a hot flash, or laying on the floor, puking my guts out.
Yeah.
I would tell myself, I don't want to feel that again.
Yeah.
And then it's like, bam, oh, I feel all right. I can do a little bit. The insanity.
Yeah. Like, oh, maybe I took that thought too far.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, what was I thinking?
Yeah.
And it's hard because it's like, aside from letting everybody down, I keep letting myself down because I know I can do it.
Yeah.
I've been through worse. And every time I set myself up for failure, every time.
When you talk about like letting everyone down and like letting yourself down, could you describe that internal feeling, what that feels like when you go through that inside?
It literally makes your heart hurt.
Yeah.
It makes your heart hurt because it's not just, you know, you're thinking individually of who you disappointed.
Yeah.
But literally my heart would hurt where the pain would radiate through my arms because it's like I let them down and then you come into physical contact with these people and it's the stares that you get.
No, yeah.
Or it's the, you okay?
Oh yeah, I saw you give the little side eye
right?
with that. Yeah, like
And it's just like, it would hurt me because then I felt like when I did get to the point where I was ready and I was going to be okay, they wouldn't have any faith in me, or it wouldn't matter,
yeah,
or they wouldn't care.
yeah.
You know, they wouldn't.
Well, how many times
know?
did you say, "Oh, this is I'm really getting my
This
act
is the
together"?
last time.
Yeah.
I'll never do that again. I'll never put you guys through that again.
Well, we talk about like the newcomer rushing out and wanting to make amends for things. Like how many times have we said I'm sorry about things?
I had to learn that the hard way, that not to keep saying I'm sorry, but show you that I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Prove it through my actions. When life shows up, and I used to hate hearing that in the rooms. Life's going to show up, life on life's terms. And it's like, if I hear that one more freaking time.
Isn't it like life showing up when they say that? You're like,
Yeah,
oh,
and you're
the
like,
thing.
damn it, I'm going through it right now. But it's just like, oh, but that's what my kids and my family look at.
Yeah.
When stuff gets rough, what is she going to do? When she's bored, what is she going to do?
Yeah.
You know? And I would get so angry when somebody would send me a text message and it took me maybe 5 minutes to respond. Now everybody's texting and calling. Where are you? What are you doing? I was in the bathroom. I was taking a shower. I couldn't get to my phone right away because they're so used to me disconnecting from them when I'm using. So the minute it takes me just a little bit too long to respond, or my text messages are short, my son picks up on that.
Oh, really?
And that hurts. It hurts and it's sad because when we text each other, it's like, you know, good morning. And I'm like, hey, good morning. What's going on? How's work going? But if I'm rushing doing something and I just respond with like a good morning, what's wrong? They can tell just by the sound of my voice when I'm using or not.
Wow.
Just by the sound of my voice over the phone, not even in person.
Yeah.
I remember my mom told me that. She called me the first time I got sober And she's like, I know you're still okay. And I'm like, how do you know? You're not here. She doesn't live in this area. She's like, by the sound of your voice. When you use, your voice gets lower, a little bit slower. And it's sad that they pick up on that addict behavior.
Yeah.
And we traumatize them with that.
Yeah. It's so when you talk about like they know like when you been using or anything like that. Now, what was the first time in early recovery like for you?
The first time, it was rough. I sat in the meeting rooms from the time they opened until the time they closed. I was in a full withdrawal for a month.
Yeah.
And I just sat in the rooms. I was terrified. But at the same time, I was trying to embrace that sobriety, that recovery.
Yeah.
You know, I was so scared. I was seeing people die left and right. And I don't want to be a statistic. I don't want to leave, my kids with that.
Yeah.
What's on her death certificate? My kids have a birthday party or a wedding or where's your mom? Oh, she passed away. And they have to explain that to people for the rest of their lives. I don't want to do that.
Yeah. That's a hard one. Like you think about now, like being alive and like, if I would have died in my run, my daughter would have to carry that burden.
Yep.
For the rest of her life.
For the rest of her life.
Explain, how'd your dad die? How did, what happened? And I think to explain that story over and over. Well, we see people go back out all the time and some make it back.
A lot of them don't.
Yeah, they don't.
A lot of them don't.
We had a friend in our fellowship over on the other coast. He went back out. He got a year. He went back out, struggled to keep going back, went back out, and ended up not coming back.
Ever.
Yeah, and you don't know what people think of you until you're gone.
Yeah. How many people you actually made some type of impression in their life.
Yeah.
You don't realize how many people actually really care. Yeah. If I can convince myself that my drug dealer cares about me because he dropped off 2 bags instead of 1.
Oh my God. Was the drug dealer ever your best friend? Like, did you ever call me a best friend?
All the time. Oh my God, I didn't even have to call and he said he's on his way. Like, come on.
I used to feel empathy for my drug dealer, right? Okay, so let me explain it, right?
You have to explain that one to me.
All right, so I would call and I'll be like, "What's up?" He's like, "Nothing," and I'm like, "Listen, I really need to come get something over," and he would seem like he was inconvenienced. Well, I'm like, "Listen, man, I'll pay you a little more." I was like, "Well, I don't want to come over and disturb everybody. Can you meet me out? Like meet me out at the bar. I'm sorry to disturb your solo." Your solo private viewing of The Mandalorian,
Oh my God.
Like, I don't mean to interrupt your TV show, but can you meet me out? I really need it. Listen, I'll buy your drinks for you.
Wow.
Look, I'm sorry to inconvenience you. Yeah.
But let me help you out. Let me know what I can do for you.
Exactly. Like, that's what I'm talking about.
God.
Like, because my dealer was my best friend.
Yep.
And it's like, dude.
Yep. And there were times where it's like, I would meet with the drug dealer and it's like, oh, just, let's talk for a little bit. And we'd just chit-chatting or whatever. And I'm like, it got to a point where I'm like, dude, we're not friends. Like, this is a business transaction. Like, I don't know if you're trying to stall, like you have to see somebody in half an hour, but yeah, I gotta go.
So... So you said you've been in recovery since 2017.
In the rooms since 2017.
Okay. Has it... And you've gone back out?
Yeah. A lot.
Okay.
A lot.
So can we talk about that to maybe help somebody out? Like what happens before you go back out?
The first time, when I first started going to meetings, I got almost 3 years.
Okay.
And I went through something personal and turned into kind of like a physical altercation.
Uh-huh.
And I started taking that person's inventory instead of my own.
Oh.
And I said, you know what? Screw you, screw the rooms. And that same night that incident happened, I went right back out.
Really?
Yep.
So
That fast.
I heard a speaker once say it's the spring in the gut. Like something snuck in the middle of the night and put a spring in my gut. And, and it gets tighter and tighter. Like
Yep.
oh, I don't like that person. No, let me take their inventory. Like,
Yep.
and then eventually just,
Yeah. Took the focus off myself, tried to justify it, blame it on that other person.
yeah. Isn't that kind of like what we've done though our whole life?
The entire time.
Yeah.
It's always everybody else's fault that I use.
Yeah.
Everybody else's fault.
Okay.
I never wanted to take responsibility for my own addiction.
Yeah.
It was just easier for me to start a fight, start an argument, and say, screw this. You're the reason why I'm like this. You're the reason why I have to get high to cope with life or my mental problems, instead of figuring out for me, why do I keep doing this? And another thing I heard in the rooms, it's like, the poison,
Okay.
you drinking the poison and wanting somebody else to die.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, they're living their life.
Yeah.
How do I think I'm punishing them by continuing to live the way that I was living?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna live at it. I'm gonna use at it. I'm gonna
Right.
drink at them. That'll show them.
I'll make you suffer like I'm suffering. That doesn't happen. All they do is cut you off, block your number, not answer the door, and then you're alone
Yeah.
with other addicts who you think are your friends.
So you going from like knowing that to getting better, and then going back to that and back into the insanity.
It was horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible, because I had created such a good family for myself that first time in sobriety. I had, I was doing women's meetings at my house. I was going to meetings all the time. I worked in recovery. So it was like I had surrounded myself with as much positive energy as I could. And even when that moment showed up, it was just like, I didn't call anybody. I didn't tell anybody that I was struggling, that I was suffering. I think the first time I relapsed, I called one of the other women in the program. And I'll never forget, I was at work. And I said, when I get off work, I'm going out. And she's like, oh, okay, where are you going? You want me to meet you? And I'm like, no, I'm going out. Like, I'm going to drink. I'm going to go get high. I'm out.
What'd she say?
If you go, I go.
She went with you?
We both relapsed that night. And she was dead a year later. Excuse me.
Wow.
And I held on to that guilt. I still hold on to it a little bit. But even before she passed away, she's like, I told her, I said, I feel guilty. I feel like you being in this situation now is my fault. She's like, Grace, you're not God. I'm an adult. I'm a grown woman. I make my own decisions.
Yeah.
We were both, unfortunately, in that frame of mind already, where it was just like we needed one excuse to go out.
So she was right there with you unknowingly. Like
Yep. I had
beforehand.
no idea. No idea.
Wow.
Yep. And we literally watched her die. Her organs were failing. It was horrible.
And so you were out for that whole year with her?
Yeah.
So what happened after she passed?
It was hard because that was her mother's only child. They weren't from Florida. So right when she was right at the end, where it was like, okay, now hospice has to come in, her mom took her home.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's horrible because to this day, her mom is gutted because of that.
Yeah.
Never the same.
Yeah.
And what sucks is that I remember first coming into the rooms, I came in with two people that I had met in detox.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them, we shared the same sober date.
The first time around.
The first time around. And then one other person was one day behind us.
Okay.
They're both gone.
Really?
They're both gone.
Oh, ODs?
One OD, one suicide.
Wow. That's...
Yep.
Yeah. So when you, after she passed, when did you get back into recovery? Like how long after that? How long did it take you?
I never really got back into recovery, not until recently. Like this time around, my sober date is January 8th.
Of this year?
This year.
Well, I've seen you at the rooms though before.
Yeah. I would get a little bit of time, go back out. A little bit of time, go back out. I honestly, I wasn't even taking it seriously because I had gotten to a point in my addiction where it's like, do I even want to live? Because it's not just the physical struggle that you go through with every relapse. It's the mental struggle. And I'm thinking, do I need to keep putting everybody around me through this? Like, maybe I just shouldn't be here. Like, I got to a point where I didn't care. And I wasn't being honest with anybody. Everybody's like, are you using again? No.
I remember asking you that.
No. Yep.
Do you remember me?
Yep.
Yeah, because...
I was in and out, in and out.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. And when I was going to the meetings in Miami...
Yeah.
I was clean at that time because I'm like, I gotta get this. And right after that, I went back out. It was just in and out for me. I could never get time put together.
Yeah. Well, that second half of the first step, that unmanageability, I heard a speaker one time break it down like, he's like, look, I can have financial unmanageability in my life. I can have all this other unmanageability, but the real unmanageability is I can't make it through life without a drink or a drug.
Using.
Yeah, without using. Yeah, like I don't know how to cope with life situations. That's the real unmanageability.
Something as simple as cleaning my house, I associated with using. Because I would use a little bit. Mm-hmm. I'd blast the music. And then I'm like, oh, I got the energy to clean. Let me clean the entire house. Now, I mentally prepare myself. I'm like, okay, the house needs to be cleaned up.
Yeah.
And I prepare myself like, okay, I'm going to start here. I'm going to work my way around. Something as simple as cleaning my home, I associated with using.
Well, but isn't that like what we've done our whole, like every little thing? Like I think about like, in my run, like I used to watch movies. Like if it was a movie that had Coke in it, I had to have Coke because I wanted to use with the movie.
Oh, sorry.
Right? No, you're good. Yeah.
Yep.
It's, if it was something like this, I had to drink to do, or this I had to use to do, this and that. And it was everything from sex to basic household functions. I got to get the energy up just to go to work. Yeah.
Oh my God, to get to work.
And now like I look at the like recovery, like I have a hard time with simple tasks. Yep. And I don't know if it's just me being unmotivated, but like things like this, like recovery. Okay, great. I got to go to a meeting. I got to do service. Like I'm on. But when it comes to simple household tasks, like I got to pick up the room, like it's the hardest thing
Something
ever.
so simple.
Yeah, because when I used to do it, I used to be high all the time, or I used to be this. Like I remember one time, I did some meth. This was years ago. I did some meth and I cleaned the house for 2 days. Like it was nothing. I mean,
It wasn't enough.
Oh yeah, it was like this thing was spotless. Like even the dirt sparkled.
On the floor with a toothbrush. This is looking amazing.
Yeah, it's like Forrest and Bubba Gump.
Like Forrest Gump on the floor and in boot camp.
Yeah.
Let me clean this. This looks great.
Yeah.
Something so simple.
Yeah.
You know, it got to a point where I wouldn't even answer my phone if I wasn't like a little bit altered. Mm-hmm. Just to have a conversation on the phone. And I'm like, what? When it gets to that point, it's like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, you were talking about this last time coming back, and you were talking about the last time in detox and treatment and when they drug tested you or something. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, that scared the crap out of me. Because we were just saying our drug dealers, oh, they're your friend. They're looking out for you. And I had never gone to treatment before.
Really?
Never.
Never. Really?
This was my first time ever going.
Okay.
And at that time, that was the first time I got honest with everybody. I just sent a text. I put myself in precip. Precipitated withdrawal.
Okay.
And that is like a withdrawal on steroids.
Okay.
It is 100 times worse.
And is that from like, is that from like?
So if you're an opiate user, heroin, fentanyl, and you take a Suboxone too soon, if the opiates are still in your system, the withdrawal that you go through is horrible.
If you take a Suboxone too soon.
Too soon.
Okay, and they give Suboxone for opiate users, right?
Yep.
How long are you supposed to be on Suboxone when you do they?
It's different for everybody.
Yeah.
Like some people are on it for a couple of months, some people sometimes years. It all depends on the person.
Yeah.
And it was just, I put myself in that withdrawal, and I was on the floor in my bedroom, puking, diarrhea, sweats, the restless legs, the back pain.
Yeah. And
I sent a text to my mom, my brothers, and my husband. And all I said was, I need help. And I got a text back from my husband. He's like, you're still using. And I'm like, yep. And I had called the recovery center a month before. And I had them run, my insurance. I gave them all my information. And I said, well, I have to make it through the holidays because I don't want to risk losing my job.
You have to make it through the holidays.
This is what.
But what about your life?
My life. They're like, so are you ready to go now? And I'm like, no, I have work. I have bills to pay.
Oh yeah.
I can't go right now. I can't go in right now. Are you crazy? And I called them, and they said, well, if you can come tonight, come tonight. So I texted my husband. I said, they can take me tonight. And he's like, well, when I finish work, I'll be there. Excuse me? I'm sick now. I need to go now.
Yeah.
When I get there. People got to the point where they were not going to rearrange their lives because I was in active addiction. Yeah. And it was wrong of me to expect that.
Well, but isn't that what we expect?
Every time.
Yeah.
Every time. And I remember he got home and I was covered in sweat, vomit, and literally the recovery center's right next to my house. And I called them and I said, hey, I'm on my way. And they're like, oh, do you need transportation?
Oh, Oh, yes,
like,
the traffic's horrible out.
I'm like, no. And I'm walking with my head back because I could feel like the vomit coming back up. And I'm clenching my jaw not to throw up while I'm on the phone. And it was horrible because I told them, no, I'm walking in your parking lot right now. And they're like, well, walk straight to the admissions door. And I remember just hearing his footsteps behind me. And I was just like, damn, this sucks.
Yeah.
But I went in. And what I thought took forever was literally like a 20-minute admit.
Yeah. Those admissions into treatment, like I remember going into treatment, like that admission process is like, I got to fill this out.
Yeah. Oh, I'm like, you want me to do what? Can you ask me for a signature? And I got attitude. It's a signature. And they're like, sweetheart, the faster you get through this, we'll get you upstairs and we'll get you, situated.
Yeah.
I literally walked over there with what I had on. I had no socks on. I had dirty pajama pants, a dirty t-shirt, dirty robe, and my slides. And I went, and they give you like the comfort meds to get through because they can't give you the Suboxone right away, which I refused anyway. But I want to say that I stayed clean after that, and I still relapsed after that.
Really?
Yeah. I did detox. I was doing PHP.
Mm-hmm.
And I got that text and was like, hey, I left you a little something. And it was just like, I didn't say no. So I went into treatment for the first time. It was November 12th. And I went through... I didn't go to residential. That's where I made my mistake. No. I went from detox and I came straight home and I was going to do PHP.
From home?
I would have to go there 5 days a week. But after I relapsed the first time, I went to residential.
Oh, okay.
I was like, let me give myself a shot.
What was your experience in treatment like in residential?
Didn't like it.
Yeah.
I didn't like it. Only because, no, it does work for a lot of people.
Yeah, it does.
It does work for a lot of people like that. It's a lot of people, that's their saving grace, But what killed it for me, and I know at the end of the day, it was all my fault. Yeah. I'm the one who relapsed. And what they were supposed to do was send me to detox again.
Yeah.
But instead of sending me to detox, they sent me straight to residential.
Oh, they're like, do not pass go.
Full withdrawal, yeah. And they were just like, no, you're going straight to residential. And I was in full withdrawal for 8 or 9 days.
Wow.
And I was just like begging for help at that point. And I was just like, you know what? I'm going home.
Yeah.
And I came home, used again. And then it was my brother's birthday is January 8th. This sober date is my brother's birthday, January 8th.
Yeah.
And I remember I met with my sponsor and I brought in a big book that was given to me. Mm-hmm. I went to Intergroup.
Oh, you went to Intergroup?
I went to Intergroup, and this was a long time ago. I went to Intergroup and I had to pick up some stuff. And the lady there, we got to talking and she gave me a big book. And it looked like an old school one. And I'm like
3rd edition or 4th edition or?
First.
She gave you a 1st edition?
And I had no idea. Excuse me. No idea. So I took the book and it was collecting dust in my room. And I remember I met with my sponsor and she's going through her big book and she's like, okay, let's read this on page 64. And I'm like, that's not on my page 64. And she's like, you have a big book. And I'm like, yeah, but my pages are different than yours. And when she grabbed it and she took the cover off, because it had a paper cover, when she took it off, she's like, you know, you have a first edition big book. And I'm like, no, I had no idea. And she's like, you need to take this a little bit more serious. And I remember writing my sober date now on that book. And it's just like, I don't want to relapse again. I don't want to ruin his birthday. I don't want to mess that up.
Yeah.
You know, and I wish I could say these last few months have been easy, and it's not. Because like I said, once the physical pain goes away, it's the mental part that I have to deal with.
Yeah.
You know, I messed up again. I tell myself, damn, I would have had 7 years now if I never relapsed. Or, you know, I beat myself up over and over again.
Yeah, well, self-pity is so, it's brutal.
Yeah. Yeah. It really is.
So what are you doing to get past that point? Like, are you what's your process looking like to get past that to where you're not beating yourself up?
I'm reaching out more. The women that I have surrounded myself with this time is a whole different ball game. You know, I love AA. AA is what introduced recovery and sobriety to me. Okay. But I also know that drugs is a huge downfall for me. So I found NA as well.
So you're an NA girl now?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
No shit.
Yep. I had to. It was hard to find a good NA meeting for me. Like I went to a couple and it was just like, all right, this isn't my type of crowd, but some of the women in these meetings started taking me to some NA meetings, and it was just like, oh my God, I love it.
I had no idea that you were in NA.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I had to venture out. I have to get my recovery any way that I can today. I have to.
What do you think? So you're saying you connect more now with NA than AA?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. See, and I'm the opposite of that.
No way.
Yeah. My drug addict ass got the message in AA.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I think I compared NA too much.
Yeah.
I think I was looking for. I found my answer in AA, but NA meetings are great.
Yeah.
They are.
Yeah.
So you're finding people that you connect with in NA.
Yep. Because it's like I would go to AA meetings and I would slip and I'm like, oh, just sharing. And I'm like, oh, I remember I shot up in this bathroom or, I almost got caught in this. And I'm like, damn, I'm in AA. I can't. Or I'd slip and go, Grace, addict. I mean, alcoholic. And it's just like, but just being able to speak a little bit more freely about my drug addiction and NA has been a game changer for me.
That's good.
It really has. And I've gone to some meetings where it's just like, and it's so cool because it's like there's this there's these two older guys that go to these NA meetings.
Okay.
And I remember because my work schedule changed, so I wasn't able to go to that meeting. And finally I showed up and these guys had like some serious time.
Okay.
Like 30 plus.
Wow.
Years. And they knew me by my first name. It was like the girls that I was going with to the meetings, they're like, hey, they're asking where you're at. They're asking where,
So they're holding you accountable.
Yes. And when I finally got to go back to that meeting, the hugs that I got, they were just like, we've been asking about you. Where have you been? And it's just like, don't get me wrong. I get that same love in AA.
Yeah.
I really do. Especially at the Sterling Room, everybody.
Oh, yeah. You're wearing a Sterling Room shirt right now.
I didn't even realize that I was getting dressed and I'm like, oh, I got my Avengers sweatpants on. I'm like, I need a black shirt. And I just grabbed it and I'm like, for a reason. I grabbed it for a reason.
Have you been to the new Sterling Room?
Yeah. It looks so good.
Yeah. Right.
It looks really good.
For anybody that's in South Florida and thinks about the Sterling Room, like I used to hear the only bad thing ever about the Sterling Room is that it was smoking. And it's non-smoking now.
Yeah, they don't smoke anymore.
Yeah, no smoking, no vaping, no nothing.
I love how it's set up.
Yeah.
I love it. And I think it was just time for a change.
It is, because that's the only thing I'd ever hear anybody say is that, oh, it's smoking, I'm not going to go there. But the recovery there is, like, there's some good recovery.
There's some good recovery in there.
Yeah.
And there's some amazing people in there.
There is.
There really are.
And you're venturing out now and you're doing more NA than AA?
Yeah.
Yep. That's beautiful.
I love it. I really love it. Like, I didn't think I would be able to connect with NA the way that I did with AA. At the end of the day, it's all the same thing.
Yeah, it's just the first half of the first steps.
Yeah.
How's the NA Big Book?
It's a good read.
It
really is. Like I always had a habit of, if you give me a book, I'm just going to flip through the pages and start reading this, start reading that. And they're like, no. You read what I tell you to read. Don't get ahead of yourself.
No.
Just read what you're assigned to read. So, we'll get to the rest.
So they're laying the smack down.
Yeah, yeah. I had an AA sponsor, and she would tell me to do a reading. Okay, did it. Read it again. Okay, highlight whatever stands out to you. And I have the dictionary for the Big Book and the 12 and 12.
Yeah.
So whatever words I didn't understand what it meant. Why was it put in this sentence? What's the context of it? Mm-hmm. I'd highlight the word and put it on the page that I was reading. So while I'm reading it, oh, that's what that means. That's why it goes here. Mm-hmm. And she had me do that. It was just like, okay, I read it again. And then I would meet with her and we would read it together. Okay, when you go home, read it again.
Yeah.
Just like reprogramming my brain, stay in the moment.
Yeah.
If you're reading this, just focus on what you're reading.
Yeah.
And you don't have to read it all in one shot. Read a paragraph at a time. Put it down. Go back, read 2 paragraphs. What'd you get out of that?
Yeah.
Well,
breaking down the Big Book, like that's one thing I got to say about the Sterling Room is that's the room that got me into the Big Book.
Yeah.
So like my sponsor, a guy we both know.
Yes, very well.
Yeah.
Very well.
but also too, my buddy, in the Big Book it says William D. Silkworth, William D. Jessworth, Doc.
Oh man,
yeah, he's the one that got me into the Big Book, and we sat at the Sterling Room night after night after night breaking it down, because I was reading one day and he asked me, he's like, do you understand that very well? I was like, oh,
Yep.
And I was going through with this person that we know and my sponsor, and I'm like, yeah, I don't, it's still hieroglyphics. And he sat with me night after night, in between meetings, after meetings. We used to sit there with other people and break it down. Yeah, because he would, and then we did that Big Book breakdown meeting for a while.
That was great.
Yeah,
that was really great. And the thing is, it's like, once you start understanding what you're reading, you're like, it's like a light bulb goes off. You're like, is that your first one?
Yeah.
It looks like his. Except his is all yellow now because of the cigarette smoke.
Yeah, it's all Sterling yellow, but look how beat the fuck up that is. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and then this is
look at your notes, everything.
This is the new one, but it's already starting to get.
It's already.
Yeah, and it's like, but that's because of somebody at the Sterling Room. This is like Sterling Room yellow, coffee stains, food stains all over.
Everything.
But sitting there night after night, breaking it down.
Yep.
And the fact that people take time out of their schedule to
do it with you. Yeah,
people care in recovery.
And that's what took me a long time to kind of grasp, because I always compared it to the drug dealer, the fair weather friends. When you're using, it's like everybody's around. It's like, oh, you don't have anything here. take a little bit of mine. And I'm like, those are good friends.
They really care.
But then I'm going into the rooms. I'm thinking, okay, what are they being nice for? What do they want?
But
What do they want?
So you'll think that in the rooms, but not out on the street.
But not out on the street.
Wow.
And at the end of the day, the people that have reached out to me to see if I'm okay, if I need anything, do you need a ride to a meeting? Do you need anything? I'm thinking, what do they want from me? And all they wanted was for me to stay sober. And I questioned that.
Wow.
Questioned it, but didn't question why my dealer was leaving me little packages without me even asking for it. No, they're trying to keep you hooked. You know, I would hate it. Oh, just thinking about it, I would hate it when I would get myself through that withdrawal. When I would get through it and like on day 4 or 5, that I'm like, okay, I can walk around a little bit. I'm feeling okay. And I'm listening to music because music is so therapeutic for me.
Music is therapeutic.
Music is so therapeutic. And I would be walking around the house, even with just headphones on. And I would sit out on the balcony hours sometimes and just listen to music. And I'm like, I'm feeling okay.
Yeah.
That very next morning, oh, I left you something. And I'm like, dude, I don't have any money for it. I didn't ask you for it. Was I going to leave it out there though? No.
Yeah.
No. And I would hate myself every time. Every time.
That's a heavy feeling.
It sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks when you're a chronic relapser and it's just like, damn it, you know?
Yeah.
It's horrible.
I had somebody in the rooms break down step 1 once, and they're like, yeah, I used to always practice step 1 hundreds of times out on the streets.
Yep.
Like, you know, I'm going to quit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is my last time. Boom. Again.
Yep.
You know, over and over.
How many times did you tell your dealer, this is the last time?
Oh.
I'm not calling you after today.
You know, I use that as a way to get free drugs.
Me too.
So I would say, I'm not buying anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was like, hey man, can I get a bump to get through? Yeah.
I got
Hey,
you.
Yeah, exactly.
I got
I'll
you.
help you come down off of that.
Mm-hmm.
I'll help you come down off of that.
Yeah.
And yeah, you know, I got to make sure that you're okay. And so I'd be doing a hit like 3 times a day,
Yeah.
right? And the next thing I know, I was finally like, you know, that not buying a bag would last like a week or 2 weeks. But I was getting little hits from everybody.
A little bit here and there.
Yeah. And then I'd be like, oh, this is too much. And then be like, okay, well, listen, I'm not going to sell you as much as I used to.
Yeah, right.
But I used to
Right.
do it to get free drugs. Like, oh, I'll just tell him I'm quitting, you know, and maybe he'll give me a better deal.
Yeah.
Or maybe like,
I still remember one time, I was so mad. I convinced myself, if I'm not doing heroin, but I'm doing pills, it's not as bad. Right?
yeah.
So I stopped doing the pills or whatever, and a friend who is like this with the dealer, like this, like she's like his personal assistant.
Yeah.
And I remember she called me out of the blue, and now at this point I hadn't touched heroin in a long time.
Yeah.
It was just the blues
Yeah.
that I was doing. And I remember she called and she's like, hey, he hasn't heard from you in a bit, you know, just want to make sure you're okay. And I'm like, yeah, I'm all right. She's like, oh, come outside. I was like, all right. Went out, we're sitting there talking. Like, she didn't bring up anything the entire time we were talking in her car. And we were in her car for about 30 minutes. And I'm like, you know, everybody's going to be getting home. Let me run upstairs. You know, to them, it's not going to look right that I'm sitting in the parking lot in your car. And she's like, oh, just, you know, here, do a bump before you go. And it was fentanyl. straight fentanyl, that I took that bump, and then she gave me a bag of Coke and was like, this will keep you up. And literally just walking from the parking lot to my front door, like I was already like nodding off while I was walking.
Yeah.
And I was just like, it scared the crap out of me. Like somebody in a meeting told me, it's not if you overdose, it's when. And think about who's going to find you. Because I would lock myself in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Lock it. Nobody's getting in.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, I woke up like I nodded off so bad that when I came to, excuse me, I was laying on my back. My left arm was underneath me. This leg was like up here. And I was just like passed out on the floor, nodded out on the floor.
Wow.
And I was thinking, what if my daughter had come home and found me like that?
Yeah.
It's like, it's bad enough that I'm an addict, and now they have to find me that way.
Yeah. So what do you, that's, how many people do get found that way though?
Every day.
Yeah.
Every day. And they're getting younger and younger.
Well, you were talking about that. You're seeing younger and younger and younger people in the meetings.
16, 17. You have 14 and 15-year-olds that are dying from overdoses. Like, why aren't you at like a roller skating rink or, you know, at the park or the movies or walking around the mall? And I think to myself, what could be so bad in their life at that age? And then I think about my own crap and I'm like, yeah, I can kind of guess why they're doing what they're doing.
So what are you doing different this time?
This time, I have to stay in contact with people. Because I'm the type that once I start going through things, I isolate like a mother.
Yeah.
I will not answer text messages. I'm not answering phone calls. I'm not going anywhere. I'm calling out of work. Addict behavior, but in sobriety.
Yeah.
And it's uncomfortable to me to admit when I don't feel strong. Like weakness to me is I don't like to cry in front of anybody. I'll show you my anger.
Yeah.
I'll show you how pissed off I am.
I've seen you show your anger in a meeting.
Man, I got kicked out for 30 days because of that anger.
I swear, I'm like, man, where'd she hide that switchblade?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
what's going down here?
It's
but that's the way we've been.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. That's
some deprogramming. That
takes a long time to get through. You know, because it's like, even when I was talking to my sponsor, you know, when I'm in a rage or anger or hurt, I don't like to admit when I'm hurt.
Yeah.
Because I feel it makes me look weak.
So you're changing that.
Yeah, I have to.
Doing different things, getting different results.
I have to. Like, life has been showing up.
Okay.
And I was just like, I'm not going to talk to anybody. I'm not going to go anywhere. I'm not going to do anything. These last few nights, it's like, no, you're either going or you're going.
Yeah.
Because it's like everybody knows where I live now. People will just knock on the door.
And it's not to drop something off. It's to make sure you're okay.
It's to make sure that I'm okay.
Yeah.
And the kids will answer the door and they're like, it's for you. Or they'll tell, she's in the room.
Wow.
I've had people just show up at my house. And I look through the peephole and I'm like, what the? why are they here? And it's not like I cannot not answer the door. They know I'm home. You know?
It's almost like God's looking out for you.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Or your higher power, whatever you choose to call it. Like it's like you're being watched.
Yeah. And it's been a number of people where, you know, coming back this time, I couldn't even walk a block.
Yeah.
I couldn't. My body was just destroyed.
Yeah.
And it was just like, no, we're going to pick you up. We're going to walk with you. We're going to go to a meeting. And when people would show up at my house, we would just sit on the balcony.
Yeah.
And sometimes just lay on the floor and just talk. And by the time I noticed, hours have gone by and I'm tired and I can go to bed for that night.
Wow.
And wake up sober in the morning.
Wow. That's great.
But they showed up. Even when I didn't want them to. They showed up.
That's amazing.
Yep. And they just care.
Yeah.
You know, when I saw them at the door, I'm like, no, if that had been my dealer, I would have looked one time and click, click, open the door. Why am I questioning opening the door for people that are sober and are just wanting to make sure that I'm okay?
Well, at least you recognize it.
Yep. But it's been, I had to surround myself with these people this time. I had to.
Yeah.
Because regardless, just because you're sober doesn't mean all your problems go away. And that's what I was thinking. I'm like, if I'm sober, everything is going to be amazing.
Oh my God, it's rainbows and kittens.
It's rainbows and unicorns and it's going to be phenomenal. And then when life showed up, it's like, okay, I don't like this part.
I thought everything was going to be good.
It was going to be great.
Yeah.
No.
Oh my God, what's that? It's feelings knocking at your door.
Damn it. Oh, the first time I something made me happy and I started crying about it, my daughter's like, where'd that come from? And I'm like, if you don't leave me alone, it's
Don't look
crazy.
at me, I'm happy.
I know. Or watching a stupid commercial and I tear up and I'm like, oh, I can't let nobody see that one.
As I heard somebody say once, I put my tears back in my eyes where they belong.
Let me tilt my head back so they go back in.
Yeah, it's like an eye drop or something.
Oh, man.
So, Grace, thank you so much for your service today.
Thank you for thinking of me, though. I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, I've been wanting to sit down and do this with you for a while now. And something just said, like, now's the right time, and
it happens when it's supposed to.
Absolutely,
because we've tried this before, but I definitely wasn't ready.
Yeah, and that's and
definitely was not ready.
In a way, to be honest, like I'm like, I kind of knew that, and it was like, okay, well, the time will present itself, because I know that you've gone through a lot before recovery and after recovery, and in recovery.
Yep.
And the stories we share, they can help, they can inspire, they can motivate others. And you never know what we're going to say might save somebody's life. Like, we don't get to choose who we save or what we say saves somebody or helps them along the way. But, it's always good to do service and share. So 2 things before we close it out. The typical 2, as I'm now calling.
Okay, typical 2s.
What are you grateful for today? Number 1.
Today, number 1, just to be sober today.
Okay.
I am grateful that I am clean and sober today, that I'm able to do stuff like this and just be present for my family today. Just for today.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
And the newcomer, the person just coming in, like, what do you have for the newcomer?
Just know that you're worth it. Don't give up. Do not give up. let people know when you're struggling. Because it sounds so cliche, but I've learned that those people in those rooms, they really do love you until you can love yourself. They carry you. They help you walk until you can do that yourself.
Yeah.
And they always say, keep coming back, keep coming back. No, really. Keep coming back, because it took me a lot of relapses just to get to this point.
Yeah.
You know, but I got to put one foot in front of the other.
Yeah.
I can't. I don't want to give up.
Yeah.
This time. I really don't.
Well, you're worth it.
Yeah.
You're worth it. Everyone's
and
worth it.
once they realize that they are worth it, sometimes that's the change that they need.
Well, it kind of goes back it kind of goes back to the promises.
Yeah.
Like, no matter how far down the scale we've gone, we'll see how our experience can benefit others.
Yep.
And
it really can, because for the longest time, people would see me and they're like, oh, you're just an alcoholic. You seem like the type of woman that can pound her drinks. And I'm like, no, I have the scars to prove otherwise, sweetheart.
yeah.
You know, I got to this point. I don't know if you can see it. So people wouldn't see it in my hands. I started shooting up in my feet. It gets that bad.
Yeah. Before, like you were talking about the yets in the beginning. I haven't shot up in my foot yet.
Yeah. And it hurts.
Yeah.
That hurts. And I was still willing to put myself through that. So just for the newcomer, just keep pushing.
Yeah.
It really does get better.
Yeah.
It really does.
Well, Grace, I'm glad you're alive. I'm glad we got to sit down and do this today.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Was it as bad as you thought it would be? Like, you were nervous.
I was nervous. I was like, oh God, how is this going to work? Like, but I like the flow to it.
Yeah.
And it is just a conversation between friends.
It is.
That's all it is.
Well, sitting down one-on-one with another alcoholic or addict, like, sometimes you get things in the story that you wouldn't normally get in the rooms.
Yeah. You
know?
can share just a little bit more openly.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and, I can't thank you enough for your service.
Thank you.
And do you know who else does service?
Who?
The Recovery Band. Kick it, boys. Oh, studio audience.
I love it. That is absolutely hilarious. I love it.
Grace, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Be well. Bye.